one life, one life, one love. There is one life, that life is God, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There is one life, that life is God, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. The rhythm of life flows through me in
And then, that life is my life now. That's what we're exploring today, because that's the dance we do. The dance between, there's only one life, and oh no, but there's another one here, and there, and there, and there. And how, on the spiritual path, we just do that dance of remembrance, forgetting, without judging, and without fear, by being brave. So we are in a grand rising year and a new month, holy boldness. And my topic today, there's only one life. And John Heron is here with us to be the assisting practitioner, and he's got a great story for us. I love his storytelling. And he will be available for the Treatment Express at the end of celebration. Treatment is our word for prayer, so spiritual mind treatment is affirmative prayer, and that's like kind of a quickie taste of it, so that you are not just experiencing a quickie treatment, but you get to be familiar with what that's like, and then you can extend that by making an appointment with any of our licensed practitioners, or any licensed practitioner anywhere. So, welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Morristown, whether you're here today with us in person, which is always lovely, or online, anytime now and forever after this. So, we celebrate being together as a community, because to me, there's nothing like spiritual community and a teaching that we can practice that really works. So, let's do our Namaste practice. Namaste is the Sanskrit word for the divinity in me blesses the divinity in you. And I always say, remember not just to give, but to also receive. So put your hands together and just bow to somebody and say Namaste. And let's treat. So here we are in this moment where we are not just recognizing the divinity in each other, but we are experiencing the recognition of the divinity in ourselves by others. That is a powerful, sacred act beyond our human understanding. That is a blessing that fills our mind and heart if we let it. That is a remembrance that spirit is all there is. And that calls for our awakening to our own divinity and the divinity of that one life. That life that is everywhere, present in everyone, everything, all the time. And oh, goodness gracious, is life cut out for us to dwell in that place of remembrance and to be compassionate, kind, and forgiving for our forgetfulness. Because the forgetfulness itself, when we are open and receptive, leads us to remembrance over and over and over again. And so today we celebrate this idea that we are here to remember that all life is sacred. And that even in our forgetfulness, we can find that which is sacred. Because that's the allness of life. So we bless our time together, we bless each other, we bless this space, and we bless our beautiful teaching that is truly life transforming. And so it is. So stick around today because we have social hour thanks to Val and John. They brought some goodies today. So that's always a fun thing. And if anybody wants to volunteer for that, there will be a list going around later. We're pretty much filled for June except for next Sunday. So if somebody wants to do next Sunday, great. If you need assistance, let us know. But July is open except for July 7th. So I have on my bathroom mirror the blurb or the picture, the image that went around with our weekly blast, the constant contact. And if you're not getting that, let us know. We'll put you on our list. but it's the beautiful words by Mary Oliver. And it says, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? It's just one line of a whole poem. Mary Oliver is one of my favorite poetesses. But this is the whole poem. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass. The one who's eating sugar out of my hand. Who's moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down. Who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what prayer is. I do know how to pay attention and how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? It reminds me of a saying by Howard Thurman that was in Science of Mind magazine on the last day of May. And we have June, and I love the way this new magazine is with 2 months in one magazine, so we have some more magazines. But Howard Thurman said, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive. And go and do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. The world needs people who have come alive. Ernest Holmes knew that when he did his little prayer, which I consider to be a mantra, where he says there's only one life. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. What do you think is the most challenging line in that 4-line mantra for people?
That life is perfect.
That life is perfect, I agree. And so isn't it interesting that that kind of is our human struggle, right? We say that life is perfect, but we go, well, it's not perfect. I mean, look at my broken toe. Look at my bank accounts. Look at my relationships. Look at my past. Look at my history. But he doesn't say perfect versus imperfect. He doesn't say whole versus broken. He says perfect as is. Because divine perfection is our inherent nature. So I have people in my world that don't like that word perfect. But it's because in their mind they're comparing it to the opposite, imperfection. What Ernest Holmes says, this life is perfect as it is. And so our life is kind of our journey to realizing that everything is perfect exactly the way it is. And that's challenging because our consciousness says, yeah, but not here, not that, not this person, not that person. And that invites us to just be and step away from the surface of what we see and hear and go deeper to the source, capital S, to the essence of our being, which is spirit, our divine perfection. So we get caught up because of our past, because of the future, because of our conditioning, because of how we interpret what we see, saying, well, there's one life, but then there's 2, 3, 4, 5 that aren't quite matching with this one perfect life. And we have this tendency to dwell there more often and more than dwelling in that place of divine perfection that is already within us. I love Valerie Carr, who wrote this beautiful books called See No Stranger a few years ago. The subtitle of the book is A Memoir and a Manifesto of Revolutionary Love. It's a very powerful book. And this is one thing that she says. For anyone who feels breathless, maybe you're holding someone close to you who's struggling and suffering. Maybe you're reading about the latest mass shooting, or the refugee crisis at the border, or the looming threat of climate change, or the blistering pace of a global pandemic. Maybe like me, you're breathless from all of the above. I thought my breathlessness was a sign of my weakness, until a wise friend told me what I wish to tell you. Your breathlessness is a sign of bravery. It means you're awake to what's happening right now. The world is in transition. When we're on a spiritual path, we commit to a very powerful practice and a very powerful commitment and a very powerful responsibility. I know I say this often, and recently somebody said to me that it sounds shaming. And I thought, that's very interesting, because that's not how I see it. If we say we're on a spiritual path, if we say we're spiritual beings, if we say we're practitioners or students of this teaching, it doesn't say that you can't make mistakes, that it has to be done perfectly, not the one life kind. It just says you have a higher calling, you have a higher responsibility. It's kind of like when you decide to be parents. You have a whole new responsibility in life, right? Or you decide to be a judge, or you decide to be a nurse, or you decide to be a doctor. It comes with ethics and responsibilities, right? As a human being on a spiritual path, especially now, we are truly called to that higher responsibility. And that doesn't mean our lives can be flawed. I mean, my life is so flawed. All of our lives are flawed. Our flaws is what make us unique and special. And if we embrace those flaws, then we can say, oh wow, I can turn it into a superpower. I can turn it into a talent. I can turn it into a gift. Or I can decide to change it. I can decide to heal it. That whole process, either way, then becomes a gift and a blessing. It becomes exactly the place where we decide to heal, to grow, to transform, to rise up, and to become a blessing to ourselves, each other, and the world. So it's never about the fact that we're not doing enough. And I know for myself, that's my default. The default is of, I'm not doing enough, I'm not evolved enough, I'm not spiritual enough, I'm not kind enough. That's just what the ego constantly whispers in our ear. But our inherent wholeness, that one life in us, is saying, you are enough, period. Live in that place of enoughness and wholeness, and the rest will fall away. We become of service to humanity, and we realize that our responsibility truly is the healing process, but nobody gets to say how that should look or when that should happen, because it's a dance, right? And so we are called to be brave in the face of our challenges, to be brave in the face of our breathlessness, to be brave in the face of what's happening in the world and what's happening with humanity. What does that look like? Well, we get to explore that all the time. I think there's three main things that get in the way. They happen to all start with an R, as in responsibility. The first one is regrets. The first one is regrets. Whether we're aware of having regrets or not, we all have them. In some way, shape, or form, right? They block us from living our wild and precious life. So if you died tomorrow, and I'm asking this not for you to say out loud, but to just kind of think about it for a moment. If you died tomorrow, what would be one regret that you have? What would be one regret if tomorrow would be your last day on this planet? That's an important question. I can honestly tell you that if I drop dead right here, right now, I have no regrets. None. I think a cancer diagnosis a few years ago made me explore that, made me look at that, made me ask those questions. Because my first thought was, I'm dying. Which is interesting, right? Those first thoughts, those first fears, they become such yummy grist for the mill. But it made me say, how do I want to live with this? How do I want to use my spirituality? Everything I've learned all these years here in this new place, this new experience, this new challenge. So ask yourself, what is one regret you would have? And you either let it go or you fix it. Fixing it doesn't necessarily mean the kind of fixing we think about in limited human terms, right? But we work with it within our own consciousness, whether it's forgiving ourselves or go do that or make a plan or whatever it may be, right? And so everyone on this planet has an opportunity to make their life sacred, but those of us who are on the spiritual path have that responsibility. How can I turn that regret into something sacred? How can it become my greatest accomplishment or my most freeing practice? The second R is resistance. Resistance at its core is always resistance to our wholeness, to the one life within us, to that which is sacred. It's never resistance to people, places, or things. It's never a resistance to ideas or to our conditioning or to our past or to the future. It's always some kind of resistance to our true nature, because there's a part of us that's afraid or has all kinds of interesting interpretations. And so where we struggle, where I struggle, where I suffer, where you suffer, is exactly the place where my resistance lives. And the main resistance is what? To our true nature, to our sacred nature. As Marianne Williamson says, we're not afraid of our smallness, we're afraid of our greatness, right? And so in this place of resistance, we get to practice a very simple way of letting go. Letting go, letting God, letting go, letting God. So it's letting that sacred awareness, that sacred knowing, that basic truth into our thinking, our feeling, and our beliefs. And the third R is all the other ruminations, right? All the other ruminations. It's being willing to notice what weighs heavy on my heart today, or in that moment, or in that experience, or with this person, or over there, or over here. Just noticing what weighs heavy in our hearts in the moment, and using that as fuel, instead of using it as a punishment, a burden, a challenge, a difficulty, whatever we call that. But using it as fuel to be willing to look at what leaves us breathless, and to realize that in the places where we feel breathless, We are called to our spiritual nature, to our spiritual practices, to awaken to the one life that always has been, always will be, and that one life reflects our wholeness. What do we say with this lovely affirmation? We're whole, perfect, and complete. Some of us do that affirmation all the time, right? It's a constant affirmation. I'm whole, perfect, and complete. Here's that perfect again. What the hell? Perfect? Not perfect. I have proof. We work with that because at its core and at the very truth of our being, there is perfect wholeness, perfect divinity. And we get to explore that and think about that and notice our resistance, right? And notice our regrets. And so the other ruminations are really about wholeness knocking on your heart, knocking on the door of your mind, calling you to look at things in a little bit of a different way so that we can have that shift in perception. And so when we're breathless, we get to say, I am interpreting myself or the other person or life as broken instead of as the truth, which is wholeness. And maybe you are different than I am. But my tendency is to focus more on what's broken than what's whole. It's just a human tendency. I hope I'm the only person in the room that does that. But isn't that an invitation to look a little bit deeper? I mean, we all know people that love to go around and say, please pay attention to my brokenness. Please fix me. Please give to me so that I can heal my brokenness. We all know people like that, right? So when I was in Albany, New York, I know I've shared this story before, but it's a long time ago I shared this. I met this sexy, juicy, beautiful man. I was so excited. I met him at the gym. He was buff, beautiful, handsome, taller than me. His name was Oscar Best. What the heck? Oscar Best was his name. I was kind of head over heels, but I was also very careful because he just got out of rehab. I was smart enough to say, Frankie, be careful. We went hiking in the mountains. I forget the name of that big mountain up in Albany. And he said, so Frankie, tell me about you. Who are you? And I said, well, and I started to tell him all the things that are wrong with me. Right? So I was like, well, you know, I come from a family of 9 and I was basically neglected and invisible. And he looked at me and says, Frankie, I don't want to hear about your brokenness. That's boring. Everybody has that story. I want to hear about your wholeness. Nice. That is 30-some years ago, and it's still crystal clear in my mind. The moment where we stood, what he was wearing, a red and black flannel shirt, black jeans. I will never forget that. And it stayed with me. It stayed with me. We didn't date very long because he went back into rehab after he stole from me.
But he left you a gem.
But he left me a gem. He left me this big gem. And I think of him at times, and I think of that moment. And I love people like that. The beauty is that you have practitioners and ministers in this teaching all around that will remind you, you are not your brokenness. You are your wholeness. You are not weak. You're incredibly strong and resilient. Your spirituality is your superpower. And the places where you have felt broken in the past and you have mended or are mending, you are finding your superpower. that is your most amazing self, not your wounds or your brokenness. Your beauty, your magnificence, your wholeness, your inherent spirit, your soul. That's the real you. And so life is given to us to make that choice. And you know what? Nobody is punishing you. Nobody is shaming you. Because it's all in our own head when we feel shame or punishment anyway. Resistance, all in our own head. But yourself. We ourselves do the best job at beating ourselves up. Nobody can say anything worse than what we've already said to ourselves, right? And so we can live a divided life, right, wrong, black, white, good, bad, spiritual, not spiritual, broken, whole, or we can live the one life, the truth of our very being. Not looking for or expecting everything to change that isn't quite working for us, but seeing it as the doorway to our inherent wholeness, to our awakening. And so, everything, or every time that we are stuck in what seems to be broken, every time when we're stuck in what seems to be broken, is a new beginning, meaning something's ending. It's what you believe about it, how you look at it, and it's a new beginning. It's that reminder of, oh, what I previously thought was broken is my entrance to remembering my inherent wholeness. And then we witness it in a different way. We witness the things that aren't working, the people who aren't doing what we think they should be doing. We witness them in a different way. We see it in a different way. We look at it in a different way, because then we can take a breath. And in taking that breath, we can remember our inherent wholeness. In taking that breath, we can choose compassion. We can choose faith. We can choose to let go of resistance. We can choose to heal any regret. We can choose to have compassion for ourselves or each other. That's how we feel the sacred come alive. I know that if I asked each of you, how have you felt the sacred come alive in you and in your life, that you would each have at least 5 examples. Maybe 1. At least 1, right? Because we've already experienced the sacred. It's how we came into the world, and it's how we go out. And so what we do in the middle is remember, forget, and every time we remember, we forget less often, and those periods of forgetfulness get a little bit shorter. And so we get to feel our lives as that sacred breath that the universe, that God is breathing by means of us. Isn't that cool? So I want to play another version of the song that I played at the beginning, One Life, that little affirmation. I invite you to sing along, or at least just to feel the words and take them in, and let them fall on the places where you haven't yet fully believed in the one life. Okay? It's by Erika Luckett and Lisa Ferraro.
There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. There's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now.
I'm not sure I want to say anything.
I know.
So, I came here today with a story to tell you, and I brought a friend of mine, Henry, to tell you the story. I'm really glad to be here. I'm really glad to meet all you people. Look at those faces. Nice faces. This is a place I can tell this is a place of love. Even the candles are telling us love. Right? So I wanted to tell you the story of the building I live in. It's the building of my mind. You see, I got this new job, and they're paying me more money, so I moved. I moved into this building. And it was October. You know, it was warm, but it wasn't really warm. It was getting cold, and I came back from work the first day I was living in this place, and it's freezing. The heating isn't working. This kind of stuff always happens to me, you know? So I call the heating people, and they send somebody over, and she says, "Oh, you got problems with your heating. I can fix it. It's gonna cost you a lot of money." This stuff always happens to me. I don't know. Anyway, she fixes it. Next day I come home from work, and it's nice and toasty. And I go to wash my hands, and there's no water. This stuff always happening to me, wherever I live. Anyway, so I call the plumber, they send somebody over, the guy says to me, "I can fix this, but it's gonna cost you more money, a lot of money." Hey, there goes the raise I got by getting a new job. This stuff always happens to me. Anyway, I was real depressed, so I decided what I need in my new home is I need some new furniture. So I went and I bought this nice couch, really comfortable, nice looking piece of furniture, right? Next day I come home from work and the cat has made a big slash in my new couch. Oh my God, this stuff always happens to me. So I sat down on the couch and I was depressed and I sort of was like half asleep and half awake. I didn't know what to do with myself. And suddenly I saw a light in front of me. And out of the light, I see this old woman coming out, and her eyes were like really wise. And she said to me, "What are you sitting there like that for?" And I said, "I don't know, all this stuff is happening to me and I don't know what to do about it." She says, "Have you been to the second floor?" And I said, "There ain't no second floor in this house. It's like one floor." She says, "Oh no, I guess the real estate person didn't tell you, but there's a second floor." I said, "How do I get to the second floor?" She says, "You take the elevator." Elevator? There ain't no elevator in this place, let me tell you. She said, "Let me show you." So we go, and sure enough, there's an elevator. She says, "You know why they call an elevator a lift? 'Cause it's like prayer. Prayer lifts you up, right? And this building is really the building of your mind. Let's go to the second floor." So we go in the elevator, we push the button, and suddenly we're there, and the door opens, and we're in this big room. And what's in this room is a whole bunch of stuff, things, and I walk over, and she says, "These are your thoughts, and the thoughts of everybody. On this floor, you get to choose which thoughts you focus on. And whatever you focus on here, that's the stuff that shows up on your first floor."
Oh.
You mean I get to choose? Yeah, you get to choose. That's what the second floor is all about. You get to choose. You mean all that stuff that's been happening to me, I've been choosing? Yeah, now you got it. So I'm thinking, well, that means that I can choose whatever I want. And I'm walking around and looking at things, and as I pick things up and look at them, I realize they're showing up on the first floor. How do you like that? Huh? And then she says to me, "Do you want to go up to the third floor?" third floor. There's another floor? Yeah. She said, but you can only go there if you really want to and if you're fully willing. Ooh, okay, this is something new. So we go to the elevator, and she says, don't forget, the elevator is like prayer or spiritual practice. It lifts you up. That's how you get to the third floor. So we go to the third floor, and the door of the elevator opens, and it's this huge area, but it's empty. But it doesn't feel empty, but it's empty. There's nothing there. I said, what's this? And she says, this is where the possibilities of everything live. Everything that comes from spirit. You'll notice it's open at the top, right? I said, yeah, there's like no limit. She says, yeah, this is where all the possible forms that you could choose on the second floor come from. Oh my God. She says, be quiet now. This place is filled with infinite possibility. Can you feel it? And yeah, I felt it. Let me tell you, this was something. So anyway, I said, thank you. Thank you so much. She said, yeah, I'm sorry that the real estate person never showed you all of this stuff because you've been living here all this time thinking that this stuff is happening to you. No, and I'm sitting there and I see that slowly she's fading away. And he said, wait a minute, I got a question to ask you. She said, ask it fast because I'm leaving. What's your question? Which floor am I supposed to live on? And she says, you live on all three. And she vanished. So I've been thinking, I'm not sure I understand what she means by living on all three, but what I think is, that old woman, that wisdom, that's a part of me, maybe the best part of me, that knows everything, right? And if that's a part of me, then that part is with me no matter what floor I'm living on. Because, you know, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm complaining. Let me tell you, right? And I can use the elevator of prayer to get up to the second floor and choose whatever I want. But I can also go to the third floor and realize that I don't need anything really from the second floor. I can know that all possibilities are mine. Always. And it's open at the top. There's no limit. So that's the story of the building of my mind. That's the story of my life. I got a pretty good life now, you know? I get to stand up here and talk to all you people. What a nice thing. So thank you very much for listening.
I love the accent. What is the accent supposed to be?
I'm a playwright.
Yes.
I wrote
And an actor.
I wrote a monologue, which was that character, and I love the character.
Love the character, love
So-
Henry.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, Henry. We love it. That was fabulous. He's such a great storyteller, right? All right, so we have a few things happening here now where it's our opportunity to say, I'm so grateful for this center. I want to do my part and do my share. So there is a way to give. And there's many different avenues to give. You can give online, you can give today, you can give via PayPal or Venmo. We have these cool QR codes. So I'll pass that around. Or you can say, you know what, I'm not really able to give at the moment, but I can serve. And so if you like to serve, you can sign up for our social hour. So just remember, June 9th is open because Val and John are here today, so you can pass that around. Or you can take this box and talk to Lori because there are names of people in here that are not able to come to the center anymore and they would love a phone call or a visit. So you can pick a name out of here, and then Lori will give you a little bit more information about the person and their needs. So Lori, I'm going to give that to you. And then let's repeat after me. I'm not going to use this today. Before I do, remember that John is available for Treatment Express. And those of you that say, you know what, I would love to learn a little bit more about our live stream and IT stuff. We have a wonderful team now with Mark Benfonte and with Vern Miller, and Vern is willing to train you and teach you, not just to learn a new skill, but to be of service here on Sundays with our live stream. So speak to Vern and he will be happy to talk to you. And I also want to tell you that we have a concert coming up. What's really important is that you sign up to get tickets so we know who's coming. And speak to Kathy if you want to know more. We'll have a little social time in between sets. But the concert is on the 22nd of June. Flyers are over here. Take extra flyers to share with people or hang them up or share on Facebook. It's the Circle Around the Sun and the Maledictorians. And the tickets are only $15 for a wonderful night of music. We also have Elaine Silver coming in 2 weeks. She's doing the Sunday celebration for Father's Day, and she's doing a little experience thing with a concert afterwards, but she's requiring a minimum, so you need to get tickets for that as well. And then we have Patrick Carbula coming back doing a workshop on Thursday, June 27th, in person. He's a great teacher, hauling all the way from California. He happens to be visiting. And it's called Busting Loose from the Money Game. So really a powerful workshop around experiencing greater abundance. And then, hot off the press this morning, is Bob Sima and Shannon Plummer are coming to do a concert for us on July 20th. So flyers are all over here, as well as the Science Mind magazine. So let's do an affirmation. Right here, right now. I didn't hear you. Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
I welcome a greater experience of abundance, health, and well-being. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is perfect. Let's say it again. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. And so it is. And
I wanted to say that the New Thought Gathering is going to be in August. Okay.
yeah, hold on, Renata. So I have one more song, and we are having social hour and coffee, so you can get up during the song and get your cup of coffee and or tea and get your goodies. But this is actually a favorite that many of you know, not everybody, many of you know. It's one of my favorites, and we haven't played it in a long time, so you're in for a little surprise.
Should I do the treatment during the song?
Oh, go ahead. Closing treatment. So,
The closing.
closing treatment.
Closing treatment.
Yes.
Is that from Henry or John?
Oh.
Oh, it's from way beyond.
From the third floor. It's the third floor prayer.
It's a third floor prayer. And so here we are, having been lifted up so much by Reverend Frankie's talk and by our presence, all of us together. And so I know that this is the truth for this gathering and for each one who is part of this gathering, for everyone. There is one life, and this life is our life. This life is what I call infinite living blessing. There is nothing in the world other than this living blessing, creating everything, and therefore creating this experience, having created this experience. And so what I know is that each one who has participated in this experience is now experiencing that living blessing, that living uplift in every aspect of each one's life. Everyone is knowing a light of truth, of love, of absolute joy in their lives. Everyone carries with them the truth that they experience today into their lives, and each one's life is expanded, is new, is blessed. And living with that blessing, I am so grateful to know this. I release this to the law. The law does it. It is done, and so it is.
And so it is.
There are days so hard, seems like nothing's going right. There are nights so cold, you're just praying for the light. There are times when you think that there's no going on. You're convinced that you're not that strong, but just then a day like this comes along. So celebrate your life today. Great